It's really wonderful to see everybody out there. This is really heartwarming, incredible support. We need the support. So being here today is wonderful. It's great. How about 5 good St. Joes? Ready? St. Joe! St. Joe! St. Joe! St. Joe! St. Joe! St. Joe! Thank you. Look, the faith has been hard to keep, but we're here and we do believe. And we're just going to start with a short prayer real quick. Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Amen. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death. Amen. St. Joseph.
Pray for us.
Thank you. All right, I don't want you to roast out there too long today, but we've got a whole bunch of information to share with you, and I'm going to start it off. Scott's going to give you a welcome here. Scott DiGirolamo.
First of all, we're going to start off with a bunch of thank yous. I want to thank our students for sticking by us in these difficult times. You're the reason we're doing this. I want to thank our parents. I know it's been difficult. We had decisions to make. Tell me, I have 3 myself. I'm in the same boat with everyone. I have a rising senior, a rising sophomore, and a 6th grader. She's a tough one. We know you're hanging on. We know some have been forced to make decisions. We're going to have some clarity later about the transfer process and some misinformation that was given out. And there will be some clarity sent out this evening around the transfer processes and some of the transfer papers you've been quote-unquote forced to pick up by a certain date. Quite honestly, the information's wrong. We want to thank our faculty for the sacrifices they've made for the 90 years. This is the 90th graduating class of St. Joseph High School. We want to thank you for the sacrifices you made. It takes a special person to teach in Catholic school, and you're all special. I want to thank the alumni and the friends of the school. Whether you're a class of the first graduating class 90 years ago, I think Mr. Durney was part of that one, or this year's graduating class, the outpouring of love and support from the alumni and the friends of St. Joe has been just, it's overwhelming. We want to thank the Religious Sisters Filippini. For 90 years, they've been an integral part of this community. And because folks in Camden are forcing St. Joseph to close, so they think. For 90 years, very special ladies have been in that building. And just so you know the facts, because everything today is facts. Nothing subjective, no fake debt, it's facts. The Religious Sisters Filippini, Religious Teachers Filippini supported us 100%, and they would be part of St. Joseph moving forward. For 90 years they've been here, and they're forced out. We want to thank them for their love and support and dedication to the town of Hammonton and St. Joseph. We want to thank the wonderful people of Modern Day Academy and Holy Cross Academy, the wonderful Diocese of Trenton, and the beautiful Bishop of the Diocese of Trenton has worked with those schools over the past year to 4 years to continue Catholic education in the Diocese of Trenton. They shared the playbook with us. They shared the playbook of success, and our playbook has been turned down. We want to thank the people of Modern Day and the wonderful people in the Diocese of Trenton and Holy Cross Prep Academy. We want to thank the wonderful people of Egerton Academy in Vineland, New Jersey. The back of the diocese was turned on them several years ago and said they could never do it. Dr. Alimenti and the beautiful people at Egerton Academy have given us unwavering support, and they showed it can be done when they tell us it can't. We want to thank the people of Egerton Academy. We want to thank the town of Hammonton. You know, there's Blue Devils, there's Wildcats, and all that stuff that goes on. But the overwhelming support of the people of Hammonton has been heartwarming. I can't say I didn't expect it because I did. We put foolish high school rivalries aside, and the people of the town of Hammonton have been wonderful. There's a few more on this list, but giving thanks is an important piece of this, so we're going to get through it. The wonderful people at Hammonton Board of Education. They've been so supportive. They've sent prayers. They've sent their best wishes. They themselves are handicapped from helping us move forward. But the wonderful people, the Hammonton Board of Education, have been through this since the beginning. I want to thank them. Two more. I'm sure I'm forgetting someone. Volunteers. The outpouring of volunteers and assistance from the folks in this crowd and far and wide. Within one day, putting up a Google form online, we had over 170 people willing to volunteer. Not just their time, not just their money. We've had teachers willing to work for a year and 2 years pro bono because St. Joe meant that much to them. The volunteers, we can't thank you enough for what you've done and what you continue to do. Last but not least, the task force, the unofficial task force. It sounds fancy, but it was 10 or 11 people that woke up on April 17th and said, no, no, not us. And they got together. And for 8 weeks, each and every person on that task force that I've been side by side with, they run businesses and have full-time jobs. And at 6 p.m. or 7 p.m., 4, 5, 6 days a week, we sat in that building over there together trying to come up with a plan. I knew most of these people in some manner before this process, but the level of respect that I have for this group, I would go to war with this group anytime. I want to thank Ruth Antelope, who's also a member of the task force and the president of the Mount Carmel Society, for their unwavering support, the use of their facilities, and you know what? They've been here longer than St. Joseph. There's so many more people to thank. I hope we forgot no one. That's our goal. A couple things before moving some facts, and I turn it over to Mr. Robert Bartolone. This rally, we've been handicapped. We heard a lot of people. We just want to get this out there. You know, we wish we had more information. We wish we had more transparency. So do we. The playbook's pretty simple. On April 17th, they tell us we're closing. We should have been able to have a rally like this, but we had COVID. We had no information. School wouldn't share parents' information with us because of privacy reasons. So we had a wonderful team that tried to pull together lists and data and whatever we can do to get the folks' names to get information out. We want you to know. You now know what we know. There's no secret information. Everything that's out there, everything that we have available is in that press release, and you're going to hear more about it today. But before we jump into that, we want to talk about prior to April 17th quickly, a little history, because a lot of folks don't know this. There's a lot of rumors around, $6.6 million in debt. St. Joe's drowning in debt. So it's actually false, and we want to bring some facts to those numbers. First, the overwhelming majority of the over $6 million in debt was created over 20 years ago. Most folks in this room were not even involved. Bishop DiMarzio made a decision, because ultimately, as we see, they're closing us, they make the decisions. He made a decision to purchase Hammonton Middle School and move forward, and dump millions of dollars into that school. We call that an investment in Catholic education, not debt to the people of Hammonton and to the people of St. Joe that come far and wide that are not from Hammonton. But they made it clear in our meeting. That debt is your debt, the people of Hammonton and the people of St. Joe. So just so everyone's very clear, the majority, and the overwhelming majority of the $6.6 million in debt was from a previous bishop, a previous administration that made a decision to make an investment in Catholic school. I don't call that debt. In the past 4 years, the bishop of the Diocese of Condemning has not given a penny of financial support to St. Joseph High School. All of our debt, any shortcomings in our budget, were funded by very generous donors and alumni and friends of our school. So in the past 4 years, there has been no financial support for the Diocese of Camden. That's a fact. Our elementary school is not losing money. Our elementary school has a 6-figure bank account and is actually in the black. That's a fact. So we want everyone to know that when you read a press release and you see information and you hear these stories of St. Joe drowning in debt, It's just not the facts. I normally don't want to read from paper, but I want to make sure I miss nothing important. One more key point. They love to put the debt and the support they've given us in a press release, but what you won't see in a press release, that between St. Joseph Elementary School and St. Joseph High School, they received hundreds of thousands of dollars in the past few weeks of government aid through COVID and the PPP program. But we don't see that in press releases. The high school's take alone, after they knew they were closing us, was over $350,000, which would have left us, once again, with no deficit this year, year 5. We haven't got the complete numbers, but St. Joseph Church, as well as the elementary school, received well into the 6 figures of government funding due to COVID after they announced they were closing us. They're facts. They can put a spin on it, but they're the facts. Now we're going to spin in some positive things. Next up, we have a member of our task force, gentleman who spent his entire career at Hammonton High School. Don't boo him, he's a convert. And he's now as much St. Joe as anyone out there. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to bring up Mr. Robert Barnalone.
Thank you so much. Both of my kids have been in St. Joseph since pre-K, so they love St. Joe. We all love St. Joe. So I just want to briefly bring you through the timeline of what has transpired since April 17th, our negotiations with the diocese, and where we stand today. So on April 17th, as soon as we received the news, the surprise closure of St. Joseph's Elementary and High School, Louis Pantalone and Scott immediately reached out to Bishop Sullivan with a letter asking for a meeting. That was literally on April 18th, the day after. We did not hear anything concerning that request. On April 30th, we sent a follow-up letter to the diocese asking what the status of our meeting was. The diocese came back to us at that time and said they would grant us a meeting. The meeting was on May 11th. On May 11th, we had a meeting with Bishop Sullivan and the diocesan team. Scott and I went up there. We met with them for over 2 hours. We had a very productive meeting. We felt it was very productive. I think the diocese felt it was very productive as well at that time. We discussed a lot of things, including school-related matters, financial-related matters, etc. On May 12th, well, at May 11th, before we left that meeting, the diocese asked us for 3 items. They said give us a strategic plan, give us a 5-year budget, and give us your enrollment numbers. We gave them all that literally 20 hours after they requested it. On May 12th, we sent all that information to them. We did not hear anything else. We sent them several emails. Do you need any additional information concerning our plan? Never heard anything. During our meeting, Scott and I reiterated and emphasized to them, if there is anything else that you need concerning our plan, we are willing to give you any and all information that we have in the most granular form possible. Anytime, just say it. We didn't hear anything. Right before Memorial Day weekend, we sent an email, another follow-up email, which was one of several, saying, we haven't heard anything, please get back to us. Again, do you need anything else? Let us know. The diocese said to us at that time, you will have a decision either right before Memorial Day or very soon after Memorial Day. Memorial Day came, we didn't hear anything. Right after Memorial Day, we didn't hear anything.
The theme here.
Then on June 3rd, Scott received a letter from the diocese. The letter stated to us that we cannot move forward with St. Joe Academy. Enumerated several reasons why. All of the reasons why could have been very easily answered with documentation and additional clarification. We feel there was nothing in that letter, not one single item in that letter that we weren't prepared to answer. Not one. So, after we received the June 3rd letter, the task force got together. On June 4th, we submitted a purchase offer. A purchase offer. to the diocese, asking to purchase outright the St. Joseph's Elementary School right here on 3rd Street and the athletic fields on Wood Street. We sent that letter through Father David to the diocese. On June 5th, the diocese wrote back to us that they will not accept our purchase offer. They offered no counteroffer. They offered no explanation concerning the outright purchase offer. Just to put it in perspective, the $1 million, we did some research. There's not a school in the close proximity of Hammonton, including diocesan schools that have closed in the past, that have sold or are listed at over $550,000. Our offer was $1 million. Okay. After that, we are here today, right? We're here today. I just want to say when we offered the purchase offer too, our attorney contacted them and said, if there is a counteroffer, please make it. But they decided not to make a counteroffer. So here we are today. Since that date, we have, and this does not count the $1 million from a private donor for the purchase offer, in addition to the $1 million that the private donor ponied up. We have nearly $1 million in pledges from donors. Nearly $1 million in pledges for donors that could be used for operating funds. Our GoFundMe account stands at $50,000, over $50,000 now, and our recent fundraisers have made over $25,000. Okay? So we are well-financed to operate a school district. We are well-financed to operate a school district. That's where we stand. Right now, at this time, we're eyeing 2 school buildings that can house St. Joseph's Academy. We don't want to be secretive, but unfortunately we cannot reveal a lot of the details related to those school buildings because we don't want to in any way adversely impact that process. I know everyone has a lot of additional questions, and we'll get to some Q&A, and we'll be happy to answer those. But that's where we stand right now. We're moving forward with St. Joseph's Academy. I want to just point out here in the front, Dr. Martin Durney. We have Dr. Martin Durney. Dr. Durney has been involved with the St. Joe High School Board of Trustees for many, many years. He's a very accomplished professional. He had an amazing professional career, and he's been on the task force since day one. So Dr. Martin Durney is going to transition us to St. Joseph's Academy, and we're ready. We are ready.
Before we call up some special students, that was a lot of information to cover. It's a lot to digest. I want to just kind of sum that up in one sentence, or a couple sentences. We started off our meeting with the diocese with, we only have 2 asks, and 2 asks only. We asked the bishop for his blessing to be a private Catholic school, and they would have full oversight of our Catholic identity and religious education with no financial ties, no financial liability whatsoever. And the second thing we said is, all we need is a building. It's on us. You can lease us a building, we can buy a building, we just want a building and your blessing. And they assured us it was their goal to try to continue Catholic education in Hammonton if there was a clear path. And folks, we couldn't have given them a clearer path. We went to that negotiations expected to negotiate fully in good faith. And we did that. We absolutely did not receive that same consideration in return. Never a counteroffer, never an acknowledgement of our offer, and a turn down for an organization that claims they have no money, and it's public information. You can read all the NJ.coms when they keep begging. For an organization to turn down $1 million cash in a 1-sentence email without a counteroffer, that should tell everyone a lot. With that being said, we have a few special students coming up to sing our alma mater. Could I please have Miss Cara Barcy, Brianna Stork, and Bobby Crimmy.
deep in our hearts we shall cherish, till God calls us home. Of thee, St. Joseph, we're singing, from the depths of each heart comes our song. May our praise be echoed forever, may our hearts be joined here together. Our voice of wisdom is calling, for each one, every son, far and near. Of thee, St. Joseph, we're singing, our alma mater so dear.
Next, I'd like to reintroduce Mr. Paul Lilly.
So over there, there's a sign that says, "Gotta believe," right? So let me just hear it 3 times. I'm a rah-rah guy. I'll say St. Joe, you say the gotta believe. St. Joe! Gotta believe! St. Joe! Gotta believe! St. Joe! Gotta believe! You better believe. I too want to tell you that I want to thank everybody here, because you were the reason why we're motivated as a committee to do what we're trying to do. And Scott told you how labored the committee has worked to get this done. And in 60 days, this whole thing started since April 17th. These people have done a lot of labor work. They've worked maybe half of those days by coming to meetings or working out of their houses or taking times from their jobs. So I too want to say thank you to anybody who's been involved in this process. And thank you to anybody who goes to the Facebook page and passes on the information to other people. Thank you very much. I'm just going to say a couple things here, 3 or 4 things. I have a hard time with this whole thing going on, obviously, for many reasons, but I feel it's hypocritical, it's very sinful of the diocese that they can't be honest and truthful during this negotiating process. They knew 12 weeks ago their intentions, and believe me, I've met with them many times. They knew their intentions. They have a game plan. They never listened to our hopes. They never listened to our plans. It was just giving us some time to make us feel better and drag this process on. And I condemn them for that. For a group of men, thank you. For a group of men who live off the charity and generosity of the people, all I can say is they certainly don't know how to treat the people very well, who feed them and support their everyday needs. I hope they can look in the mirror and understand what they're doing to a lot of families down here in the Hammonton and regional area, because it's not just about Hammonton. Our school is supported from a lot of different towns. To you, thank you. And you've heard it 100 times, maybe more, the $6 million debt. And Scott was right. The debt was taken over 20 years ago in an effort, because we had such thriving population in the elementary and high school. A great opportunity came up when Hammonton built their new school, and that school got vacated. It was perfect timing, and we had a very supportive bishop. Bishop DiMarzio was there at the time. We've had 2 bishops since then. Bishop DiMarzio started the campaign to raise money for that. We weren't even 8 months into the campaign, and they transferred him up to Brooklyn. The next bishop that came in had no interest in supporting the school. We couldn't even come to an event to help us raise the money. So when they talk about a $6 million debt, I'll never look at it that way. Any kind of money that this diocese has invested in St. Joseph's schools, the elementary or the high school, is an investment. It was an investment in Catholic education, it was an investment in education, it was an investment in our faith. How they can call that a debt, I don't know. I guess they expect to pay back with interest. And we hope to have paid it back. We hope to meet our goals in the campaign fundraising, but we didn't. But to throw that as the only excuse that they've given to us at this point is wrong. And I'll take that to my grave. It's wrong. Okay? You people have given more than just paying tuition. You've given more and above that. And many families before you have done that to make the schools work. They won't let us have the opportunity to do that going forward. Shame on them. I'm not going to sit up here and pretend that running a school this day and age is a business. It's hard. You have bills to pay, you have people to pay. Everyone can't volunteer to make a school work. And that's why we have tuition. That's why we have fundraising. We get it. And we understand the diocese has other places that they have to use money to help charitable organizations. But I don't think they've ever donated money to a food kitchen or some other social service and then asked for them to pay it back. I don't think they've ever asked that. To think that we're not worth investing in, that bothers me again. It's hard. It's very hard to remain religious and faithful that I've had my whole life from the time I've been raised by my parents. And to just have to abandon this now because it just hurts so much. It does. It's a lifetime. You know, some people were born and raised in it, and that's what it is. And it has been for me and my family. I just told the graduating class yesterday they had a commencement program for the kids, which was great. I don't know if anybody was there. It was wonderful. They got to experience a semi kind of regular graduation because they had to do the drive-by during the week. But this one they had assembled. It was well organized by the parents. And I told them that, you know, that they're not the last class of St. Joe. It's always going to be in our hearts. And no matter what happens going forward, we all hope everybody remembers the red and white. Thank you.
Any high school students that are here today, could you please come up in front with us? Doesn't matter if you just graduated or you're an incoming freshman and everyone in between. Please come up. You know, the bishop told us there's no room for a Catholic school in Hammonton. We're not here to support it. The bishop told us, we don't close schools, you close schools. That's a quote. That was in our meeting, and that's been in many, many publications if you follow it. I don't close schools, people close schools. He may call it $6 million in debt. I call it garbage. I call it an investment in these beautiful young children. So for everyone out there reporting, and I hope this gets back to the diocese in an expedited manner, we're told to be humble. We're told to confess our sins. We're told to not have foolish pride. We're told to give until it hurts. Mr. Bishop, you can make this right. All we're asking for is a piece of real estate that has much less value than these children. And we're asking to help you continue Catholic education at a time when our faith needs no bad publicity and we don't need people running away. Now we're going to sing some positive. I'm going to bring out Mr. Bartolone again.
Now we're going to make some noise, have some fun. You guys ready? Are we St. Joe strong? Yeah! When I say St. Joe, you say strong. St. Joe! Strong! St. Joe! Strong! St. Joe! Strong! Wildcats never die? When I say Wildcat, you say never die. Wildcat! Never die! Wildcats! Never die! Wildcats! Never die! All the elementary school students also come up here, please. You guys ready? Save our schools! 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 Save our schools!
Save our schools! Save our schools! Save our schools! Save our schools!
We love these kids! We love these kids! We love these kids!
We love these kids! We love these kids!
All right, you guys, show them a little spirit, give them a little treat. Throw them out there, hit the crowd, come on. All right, so we're kind of down to the end of the program here today, what you came out for. But we understand that we could use a lot of positive feedback, and we don't have many opportunities. We wanted to meet with everybody in an inside format because of the COVID-19. We've kind of been tied, our hands have been tied, so we couldn't have a general assembly to have everybody there. But we're here today, okay? And we want you to know that we're going to try to keep these schools open. It's going to be pre-K through 12, okay? It's all together in one building, one way or the other. We're going to try to make it work. So at this time, we really ask you, if you have something to feedback, please put your hand up. We'll point to you, just shout out your question, and we'll do our best to answer it. And there goes Mr. Mento right off the bat. That didn't take long, did it? Go ahead, Sam. Class of 1965.
Why wasn't this $6.5 issue addressed sooner? Like all of a sudden it came up out of nowhere. Well, evidently that's the major problem right now.
He's asking why the $6 million debt hasn't come up in previous years. Why all of a sudden is an issue. And it has been an issue. I can tell you, I've served on the Board of Trustees, and Martin can verify this. Every year we have to put a budget up, and every year it's a line item in the budget. We see it, it's there. They remind us it's there. We have been told so many times that it's been there. What was it, Martin? About 5 years ago, we started actually making payments out of the school budget back to the diocese with interest to help offset some of the costs of that $6 million. It would have took us 200 years to do it, but nonetheless, in good faith and good gesture, we wanted the diocese to know that we understood the business part of this plan, and we had that in the budget. Now, it's coming out only because they brought it out in a letter when they responded to our committee as to what were the reasons why we couldn't advance with an academy.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Why didn't they bring this up sooner?
Well, write a letter or call them and do us a favor, because we can't get an answer from them, and maybe you will.
The schools, the bishop, the diocese owns the schools, the property.
As far as the diocese is concerned, it's a debt service that we owe to the diocese, the
Well,
school
who owns
owns.
the property?
The diocese owns the building. It's silly. It's silly. They're telling their own corporation that they owe money to themselves.
They should be able to sell that building.
Well,
I mean, Stockton's buying colleges, locations, all
we don't know if they're going to sell the building, and they won't tell us. That's the whole problem. There's zero communication that comes back. Tell us, and then we can make plans. But they haven't told us what their plan is. So how can we do anything but try to advance forward as a group?
And one more thing.
One more thing.
I don't know why we had to purchase that building. Our enrollment isn't that big. I mean, we had 95 in my class.
Well, at the time, the numbers supported it, and it did work. We had 450 kids in that building at one time, but things change over time, and we're not going to try to change what's happened. All we can do is look moving forward. And anyone else give us some ideas that we can do?
How come we can't take this protest to the diocese?
We can. We can. But we want to do it with the class and respect that they haven't given us. At this point, though, let's be realistic. Is that Greg?
Not yet.
Yeah.
Can't do it yet.
Yeah. We're going to give them an opportunity. The problem we have is protests are great, and trust me, we're a different breed here. St. Joe Strong is going nowhere, with or without a building moving forward, and with or without a school. We will make sure, we're going to get our deal done first, but we're going to make sure this never happens again to anyone else. As a good Christian, as a good Catholic, we're going to make sure of that. It's our job to move forward to make sure this doesn't happen to someone else.
Yes.
Questions?
I have a, first of all,
I am a parishioner here. Some of you know me locally. I am an educator. I feel for all your children. I have saved the school in my career. I saved against the state of New Jersey. So it's not an easy task, and I commend you all for stepping up and standing up for what you rightfully have as your own. So I commend you all for that. As you move forward, you're moving forward with or without the bishop's blessing, as I'm hearing. Is that correct?
That's the plan.
Okay. So as far as the strategic plan that you have in place, and you have all your stakeholders involved, will you still have to follow, or will you still be following the diocese's curriculum and their content areas and things of that nature? Or, as a private academy, will you be going off on your own? It still will be religious-based, I'm guessing, right?
In the short term, we will be following the curriculum.
Okay. I'm looking out.
Modified.
Right, everybody. And I'm a fighter. I went to Catholic school in Philadelphia, but have we went over the bishop's head as we move forward to the cardinal, or I'm all about going right to the Pope. I'll take a trip to the go one step above.
Unfortunately, we've learned a lot about the human side of our faith over the past 8 weeks. The buck stops with the bishop.
So you're saying over the head, they push it back.
The Pope appoints the bishop.
And what I'm hearing is, unless he gets his $6.6 million.
Well, he's never getting his, remember, folks.
Wait, let me finish. So what I'm hearing is, if the bishop doesn't get his $6.6 million, these children don't have a right to a Catholic education.
That's one of the reasons. But remember, he's never getting, once the school closes, remember, the school that owes them the debt is the school they owned, and it's the administration they put in place. It's kind of weird, right? So they're never getting their $6.6 million. When they closed us, they now get zero, and these kids still lose it.
Understood, but I just want to make sure it's all about the money. That's what I hear, and I don't like it. Understood.
And there's some other reasons, I'm sure, but money is the biggest piece.
Okay.
One thing for the parents, before we take the next question, I know we missed on this. There's a red tent over there. We know people are making decisions. We know time's running out. That's our role. If we knew this 4 months ago, this is a no-brainer. We have the plan. Our plan's airtight, and we have a team in place that rivals anyone. And everyone here is part of that team, not just some names that you hear. Anyone, we're just asking. You know, I'm giving this through the end of the month personally, and I'll go on. I would go to September. That's just where my heart is and my belief, and I have 3 children to think about. But I can guarantee you that we're going to stick through this through the end of the month and maybe beyond. We know people have to make decisions. We know their schools are pressuring you for, registration fees, et cetera, et cetera. There's a tent over there. If anyone, we ask 2 things of the parents. Stay loyal as long as you can until it hurts, and if you have to leave, please come back. And number 2, tell a neighbor how great it is to be a Wildcat. Tell a friend. And for those of you who don't send your children here today, think about what they can be part of. At the end of the day, we do not want to come down to the wire and let the amount of students we have moving forward be the reason we have to pull a plug. So we ask for your support. I know it's not easy, as long as you can, before you, turn on St. Joe. Or have to turn away, I shouldn't say turn on.
Scotty, I have a question. Can you explain to the parents the whole transfer process? I think the website of the high school website was actually giving us false information, no easier way to put it. False information that you don't have to transfer on June 15th. You can transfer if you're considering a public school. Go ahead, explain the whole process. You got the mic.
Yeah, absolutely. So the real reality of the transfer, there's a lot of confusing information out there, especially on the high school side, that's led to people getting nervous and running to other schools. There was an email, and I may be off on a day or 2 on the dates, but there was something that we need you to come in by June 15th, and we need you to order your transcripts and get them to the school you're going to. So as parents, that's what we're going to do. We're going to listen, right? Because they're our leaders, and we should listen to them. But maybe we should learn. And then they said, you have to have your registration back, and you have to put in the paperwork for that by June 20th. I would probably do that and get your money back. But the reality of it is, that school is ceasing operations as it stands today on June 30th. At that time, the documents and all of our transfer paperwork will go back to the diocese. You have until the beginning of the school year next year, or beyond, I guess, to order your official transcripts and send them to your new school. You can go to school and get an unofficial. If you're looking at other schools, you can get an unofficial version of your transcripts. Or you can use your report cards. But at June 30th, when the school closes, they're going back to the diocese, and we can just request them from the diocese, which is what I would be doing.
But there's no rush to do this. You can do this all the way up.
Right. That's what I was going to support Scott when he said, Greg. There is no rush to do this. I will tell you this after talking to someone in administration at St. Joe who handles all this. It'll be easier for you to get your transcripts and your transfer papers now, even if you don't have the designated school you're going to next year, because if they give you the papers, they're all filled out, it'll save you a lot of hassle trying to go through the diocese after June 30th. You don't have to know where you're going, but you should contact the school and just say, I need the transcript and transfer papers. They'll fill them out, and they'll be ready to go if in case you do have to go to another school. And you don't have to worry about getting in another school, because your home school district is going to accept you no matter what. Public schools have to take you. It's the law. If you're going to go to another Catholic school, they're going to take you. They want you as much as we want enrollment. And if you're going to try to go to a private school, same thing. Maybe you can't get into a charter or a choice school at this time because they had deadlines earlier, but these other schools will be there for you. So hopefully you'll be there for us too if this does drag on through July and August.
And we're going to put up.
Hey, Scott, I have a question. So if we don't get Bishop's blessing, Catholic-wide, as far as, someone may have already addressed this, as far as like elementary, we have kids who still have to get community, my police officer confirmation. You have to go to CCD, or is it going to be taught at school? Will it be a Catholic school, or is it just going to be an academy?
Yeah, so it's a little tricky there. So you still would receive your sacraments through whatever parish you're part of.
Right.
The term Catholic, if you're an independent school, you cannot use the term Catholic in your name to our knowledge at this point unless you are blessed by the bishop. The goal today, and we're still going through this, would be St. Joseph Academy, deeply rooted in Roman Catholic faith, or religious education, or Christianity. You know, we have to get through that as part of the process. I'm assuming the bishop and the parish would still want you to go through their programs for religious education. But we will still be a faith-based school.
So religion may or may not be taught.
Religion will be part of our school.
It will.
Religious education will be part of the school.
Okay.
100%.
Absolutely.
We will not move forward without that.
For some of us, for our kids that are going to be seniors this year, we'll try now as long as we can. But you know, going into a senior year, these kids have to try out for a new sport, or how much longer will possibly a decision be made on a new building, so these kids don't have to rush, get senior pictures. I know it sounds tedious, but it's their senior year, so they're going to a new school, and kids, they need to feel like they're a part of it. So how much, like, approximately?
So I have a rising senior,
Okay.
so I'm in the same boat. Any team you're trying out for, the NJSIAA just put out some documentation this week. There can be no team practices, no team tryouts, none of that until at least July 13th, and that may move forward. But in all honesty, if we don't have a much clearer picture by the end of this month, we have to be realistic as parents and supporters of what the future looks like. But there can be no trying out for any teams, to the best of our knowledge, based on some documentation by the NJSIAA, that July 13th, no team practices can start prior to that.
And also, when I called about the transfer papers, they told us that we couldn't have them, that they have to be sent to the school. Exactly. So they wouldn't give them, they would not give them to me. That's right. It had to be sent to a school.
Official transcripts have to be sent to a school, but you can ask for an unofficial copy of your children's transcripts, and they should give you that. Mr. Martin, I think he had a question in the back. He's been... Same question? Yep.
Next to him.
I asked for an unofficial transcript and they would not give it to me. I simply wanted it because I wanted to be sure I had something in paper just in case the board I
Yeah, I would immediately, first thing Monday morning, contact Danielle Dolce and press on that. We're not sure what they are, what the reasons behind that are, if they've been instructed to do that, but we understand from some folks that are involved in school boards up here that you can ask for an unofficial copy of your transcripts.
I was told the unofficial wasn't ready yet because the grades were in.
There you go, there's your reason. Number 11, you have a question?
Speak up.
Yeah, you come all the way up, please.
The number mentioned, but some of the parents aren't receiving any information. For some reason, we're not getting any email from the school. So we have to rely on secondhand information from people from the community. I don't know why all of a sudden, but my family, East Side family, and some other families aren't receiving any email.
Yeah, you're talking about through Connect Ed, how the emails come out from the school?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, we've heard that because they were, Father Caparis early on, before we got to this point, was gracious enough to push out some of our press releases through Connect Ed, and then when our parent ambassadors reached out to some parents, they had no idea. So I'm not sure if the school has bad information or if certain names are not on the list. You can imagine the position we're in. Not only did the school have bad information, we had no information. So the school, up until about 3 weeks ago, should have been pushing the St. Joe Academy information through Connect Ed. So if you did not get that, you're not on that list, yeah, that's a St. Joe High School problem, unfortunately. Anyone else?
Scott, can you make it clear that you want them, that they would go over to that
Sure.
tent and...
Yeah, absolutely. So, if you have time, before we leave, there's a tent over there, there's a couple folders. There's a volunteer folder, and gosh, that's been filling up online and in the folder. Just even if you're willing to hang on a little longer, we need to understand and get a better understanding of our enrollment numbers. The coaches have been wonderful. Some of the administrators who have tried to help us have been wonderful. Unfortunately, the school will not give us everyone's information. We had parent ambassadors reach out individual phone calls that got to about 170 families at one point. We had 160 people saying they would return, 9 people that were maybes, and only 1 no at one point. We don't know exactly where we stand right now. So anyone that can go over there and at least fill out their name, if you're willing to hang on a little longer, because we're going to have to get some realistic enrollment numbers. So if you can visit the tent on the way out, and if you're someone that's moving on, we need to know that as well. Well, everyone, thank you so much. We'll be around here to mingle if you have any one-on-one questions. But I can guarantee you this. Like Coach Sacco says, no matter what happens here, we're going to block and we're going to tackle.